this morning. Hi, everyone. My name is Tommy Samanik. I'm one of the professional development specialists here with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. Today marks our first webinar of our PaCE series for the 24-25 year. So we're going to kick things off with a PaCE overview. I'm going to go ahead and go through some housekeeping items for all of us to be aware of before I go ahead and get into the content. Number one, this session is being recorded and it will be shared on our PD on demand section of our website. Give us about a week or two to get that uploaded. Sometimes it takes a bit to kind of download on our WebEx accounts, and then we have to go ahead and upload it to our site. So give us a week or so for that. If you're having trouble connecting through audio for whatever reason on your computer, there's always the Call Me option on WebEx. If you go to the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and click on Call Me, it'll have a number for you to dial in. And if you dial that number in onto your phone, you could receive audio then through your phones. I do have a wide variety of colleagues on the webinar this morning, so feel free to ask questions live throughout the webinar. We have a Q&A feature located on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen as well. It's literally just a little box with a question mark. When you click on that, you can post your questions in there, and one of my colleagues will go ahead and do their best to answer your questions live as I am presenting. We will have a wide variety of other professional development offerings hosted throughout the year. If you visit our PD offerings page on our website there, everything that we will offer in person or on webinar format will be posted there. And we also will be offering continuing education and professional development hours for this session. You wait to the end of the presentation. We will go ahead and post a SurveyMonkey link for you to fill out, and then we will follow up with you with those completed forms. So I like to always have this slide up on our presentations because it kind of gives folks a chance, if maybe you are seeing us for the first time, you perhaps don't know who we are as an agency. Our mission is to provide Illinois students with information and assistance to make help education, whatever that might be, beyond high school accessible and affordable. We also administer a wide variety of scholarships and grants to our students across our state, whether it be for veterans programs, teaching programs, different types of loan forgiveness programs even, lots of programs that we administer here at ISAC. And then myself and my colleagues on the line here on the professional development side, we do a wide variety of offerings on navigating the financial aid process, do sessions on our resources and support for underrepresented students, and of course, information about our student loans. So this is the agenda I'm going to go through today with you all. I'm going to talk a little bit about the background and legislation and how PaCE kind of started and where we're at sort of today. Then we'll talk about how to get started with. We'll then dive in through the 3 steps of the PaCE implementation process. And then I have some resources and support options for all of us to be aware of. All right, let's go ahead and dive into how PaCE kind of started and sort of the legislative process involved with that. Back in May of 2016, General Assembly unanimously passed the Postsecondary and Workforce Readiness Act. So this was signed into law then in July, and it required the 4 state education agencies to develop and establish a system to ensure our students here in Illinois were more college and career ready. We had a deadline to adopt and recommend a framework that outlined what PaCE looks like in terms of us here at ISAC. And then later on, going towards May of 2022, there was an update to this legislation that built upon the Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act, and it focused also with aligning that with the college and career pathway endorsements that the State Board of Education is responsible for. In July 23, those 4 state education agencies adopted and publicized an updated PaCE framework that extended it down as well to the 6th grade level, and we'll go through those details today. So here are the components of the PWR Act and how it kind of breaks down into the 3 or 4 different sections here, and how it helps students better prepare for life after high school. Us at ISAC, we are responsible for the first thing you see on the left-hand side of your screen, which is, of course, the Postsecondary and Career Expectations and the framework itself. The college and career pathway endorsements is the State Board of Education's responsibility, and they very much tie in together. There's also transitional instruction and competency-based education pilots. Other state education agencies like the Illinois Board of Higher Education, the Community College Board, are more involved with those pieces of the legislation. And then this is sort of just a crosswalk. There's a lot of details and words on here that you probably can't see or read. This just illustrates the overlap and the connection between what Illinois PaCE has on its framework and the college and career readiness indicators, as well as the pathway endorsements, all involved in the PWR Act, right? Just to illustrate to you all that each one of these things and maybe each education agency is responsible for all work together and all tie and connect together, really much kind of killing two birds with one stone, for example. So I want to talk about the most recent act that sort of built upon PaCE and caused the framework to sort of extend down to the 6th grade level and some additional requirements involved with that. So the two main components it focused on was what we are responsible for as terms of the Illinois PaCE framework, and also an update to the college and career pathway endorsements. It also amended certain sections of the Illinois School Code for our public high schools in Illinois, and as well as the Chicago public schools. These dates have already passed. This was part of the renewed legislation here. So no later than July 2023, we've passed that. We had to adopt an updated PaCE framework that extended down to the 6th grade in partnership with the other 4 education agencies. We've done that, obviously. July 2024 is being needed to do a couple of things in terms of maintaining databases by region for their different work-based learning and career readiness programs, and also to publish and maintain an inventory of their resources to help school districts across our state implement the college and career pathway endorsements. That's been checked off as well. And then specifically for the Chicago public schools, they needed to adopt and commence implementation of one of their PaCE frameworks, again, whether they adopt the state's framework or if they customize ones themselves, for grades 6 through 12, again, aligned with the state framework in terms of the state agencies. It has to be posted prominently on a location on their district's website. So their sort of deadline is passed. A lot of Chicago public high schools should have done this already and met compliance for it. So this date is also checked off as well. Now for everybody else, right? So other public schools across our state, right, other than CPS, have a deadline of July 1 of 2025 to adopt and commence implementation of a framework in accordance with PaCE for grades 6 through 12. Again, they're also required to prominently post this on their school's website, district website, whatever. A school district serving 9 through 12th grades must have also elected to implement college and career pathway endorsements or have chosen to opt out of implementation. Again, what type of framework that is, again, if it's just the state's framework itself, great. If it's a customized framework, also totally fine. Here is the specific requirements in terms of offering college and career pathway endorsements. These are coming through with different sort of high school classes that come in. So CPS has requirements a year earlier than the rest of the public school districts in our state. So for the class of 2026, for example, they needed to offer at least 1 endorsement. The class of 2028, it was 2 endorsements. And then for the class of 2030, it needs to be at least 3 endorsement areas if they have enrollment of more than 350 students. The exact same requirements are in place for other school districts, public school districts in Illinois, but it's 1 class later, right? So corresponding to class of 27, 29, and 2031. School districts do have the option to opt out of this sort of compliance legislation here for implementing a PaCE framework. In order to do so, the school board has to make an official ruling, report its findings and decision to the State Board of Education. Option to opt out of all of these requirements or part of the requirements, but they need to consider the following pieces of information and questions, I guess I might say, as they report these findings and decisions to ISB if they choose to do so. So what are those things? First, the school district's current systems for implementing college and career readiness, the cost of implementing against the balanced potential benefit to students, the willingness and capacity of local business partners and maybe other external organizations to partner with the school district in order to implement these pathways successfully, the willingness of higher education institutions to partner with the school to implement all of the things involved in their PaCE framework, as well as maybe dual credit opportunities, Also, the availability of statewide databases for participating local business partners for the purpose of career readiness and the accessibility of those partners to the school district, and availability of their staff and their teachers, different sort of faculty credential standards for those dual credit courses in those specific endorsement areas, right? A lot of things to consider here. I think a general idea might just say, what kind of resources do you have at your schools and your communities? Do you have faculty and staff, curriculum types of things? What's limiting you from implementing the PaCE and CCPE requirements? Essentially is what they're asking here. In addition here, to celebrate college and career readiness in terms of HR 681 bill here that required ISAC to publish an annual report documenting the efforts and the leadership across school districts in implementing their PaCE frameworks. And then ISB has requirements as well to document and report the leadership of the eligible districts implementing their college and career pathway endorsements, as well as to encourage all districts serving 9th to 12th grade to implement those CCPEs in multiple areas. Both agencies are encouraged all districts serving 8th through 12th grades to implement their own PaCE framework, and to encourage districts who already may have implemented PaCE to extend that down to the 6th grade level so that they're able to meet that compliance. All right, so that's a lot of background, a lot of legislation, a lot of technical information. Let's get into some details here about how we actually get started with PaCE. So this is a really nice diagram, and it's nice for me as someone working on the professional development team to see this, the progress we've made across our state in terms of PaCE, because it shows all the different institutions that we are aware of who are implementing PaCE, whether it's the state's framework or their own customized framework. We've identified over 233 schools and districts across our state doing so. Those you see highlighted in green are customized frameworks, which is about 173 that we have gathered. 56 of those have been facilitated by us at ISAC in terms of maybe a PaCE framework development workshop. Those you see in orange means they have adopted the state's framework in its entirety. 60 have adopted the Illinois PaCE framework. And if you see any sort of purple there, that just means that those institutions have multiple PaCE frameworks that they have adopted and are implementing. We also create a repository of frameworks on our site, right? We ask institutions we work with or who maybe have done it themselves to share their customized frameworks with us, so we are able to kind of post and show your institutions off. And really, another purpose of this is to give institutions who maybe are considering customizing their frameworks, and maybe they have questions to say, well, what do we include? I mean, we know our student populations, but what are other institutions perhaps who have similar demographics to us? What are they doing? Do we like those ideas? Maybe we want to take some ideas and information from them and put it into our own schools and institutions when we customize our PaCE framework. And that's really the purpose of us collecting that information. So what's the purpose of this framework in general? Why does PaCE exist, right? It's supposed to be sort of a organized guide to college and career readiness efforts. Again, a lot of that work you do at your institutions and what you see in the framework is probably already being done at your schools, right? It's really just to sort of document and sort of have a little bit of a reflection to say, what are we doing well and what are we not doing so well? What do we want to improve upon? How do we want our students to look once they leave our schools? So this provides sustainability, right? Enables college and career readiness efforts to be replicated at your school from year to year. So when staff turns over, there's something in place for them to look at. Accountability. This allows all staff to understand the expectations for college and career readiness efforts at each specific grade level, right? And the awareness of all those things from all teachers and all faculty and staff. Everyone has accountability to say, what do I need to do to ensure that X, Y, and Z is met for my students as they move throughout their high school careers? And my favorite piece about PaCE is that it's flexible, right? It's able to be adjusted to meet the needs of your student populations. It can be scaled up or scaled down as needed. I've now, being on the training team for about 2.5 years, I've been able to travel across the state to see what different institutions do in terms of maybe rural schools versus urban schools. And you can really see the differences in terms of what they need and how they might adjust their framework. And that is absolutely fine. It's encouraged for those institutions to do so. So this is the middle school portion of the PaCE framework. Again, part of that newly updated portion of the PWR Act for the state to extend the framework down to the 6th grade levels here. There's not a ton of, I would say, maybe action, like specific time sensitive items on this portion of the framework, because really the middle school portion of the framework is really about more social emotional learning here. Sort of having students identify who they are, what they like, what they're maybe developing to be good at, right? But it's organized very similarly to the high school, right? In terms of, we have three different domains. It's aspiration, self-advocacy, and planning, right? It's organized the same way in terms of sentences, like students should be exposed to and students should be supported to. But you may not see sentences on here like that would say students need to know and students need to complete X, Y, and Z prior to this date, right? Too young, just introducing these students to those readiness concepts early on, right? A couple of examples I see here on the framework that say students should be supported to explore their habits, explore their strengths, engage in some self-reflection, right? Some of these more introductory concepts that can better prepare them for those college and career time-sensitive tasks once they get into high school. So I mentioned this a little bit here, but these are the sentences that you're going to see on the state's middle school framework in terms of students being exposed to and being supported to do certain things to explore, their sort of social emotional learning, organized by the three different domains and broken down by each grade level of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And here's the high school framework, as most of us, if we're familiar with PaCE, should recognize here. Again, organized by the three different domains of financial aid and literacy, career exploration and development, and post-secondary education, exploration, preparation, and selection. Say that 10 times fast. But again, different sort of sentences here that we'll go over here in the next slide. In terms of students should be supported to, specific action items and specific experiences they want to have. Students should be understanding concepts now, right? They should be knowing certain things, or students should have, right, with more time-sensitive tasks that need to be completed. Again, broken down by each of the grade levels of 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So the first thing here, right, if you're an institution who hasn't done anything with PaCE yet, you are maybe a public school district in Illinois, and you know the July 1, 2025 date is coming up quicker than we may expect, right? You have choices. You can either, again, adopt the state's framework as is, or you can customize your own PaCE framework, right? We have resource support options there to help facilitate those workshops if you want, but you can also just do this yourselves if you feel you have the time and the resources and you have a grasp about what PaCE is and what needs to be done at your institutions. So again, if you decide you're adopting the state's framework, right, a couple of things you want to consider. You want to review each of those benchmarks on the state's framework and consider, okay, do we have the administrative support and approval to do a lot of these things? Maybe there's some things on here we haven't done. Do we have the resources in order to meet these specific benchmarks? Assuming that they all do align, right? These benchmarks do align with the college and career readiness indicators. So you're kind of saying to yourself, cool, I know that the state's framework kind of kills two birds with one stone with some of these other factors. The needs of your student population, do they all sort of meet? Are there specific things on here that don't make sense for your institutions? Or are there some things that need to be added that the state's framework does not cover? What kind of partnerships do you have with the community, right? External businesses, other higher education institutions that you know your students usually go to, and the potential cost of implementing some of these things on the state's framework. If you're developing a customized framework, right, you're asking yourself the exact same questions, but you want to make sure that you're still, of course, addressing those college and career readiness indicators. And again, a lot of the different needs on here is a little bit more in depth in terms of who needs to be involved in the framework development here. The cost, the resources, the needs of your student population are more identified here because you might be changing some things from the state's framework, right? What makes sense for us, what doesn't, and what do we want to be added? Again, you can request a customized workshop with us in terms of facilitation, or you're able to do this yourselves if you feel you have the means, resources, and knowledge to hit the road running and do so. So your first step, if you're deciding to customize your own framework, you want to establish a framework development team, right? The consensus needs to be reached among this team about what benchmarks you want to include on the framework, and then which grade levels do each of these benchmarks need to go, right? A classic example of when should students know salary expectations for entry-level jobs. It's like, all right, well, maybe it's in 10th grade, maybe it's 11th grade. Your framework development team is tasked to debate those things and decide with consensus about where these individual things need to go. Who would you include on this team? Not limited to, but these are common people that we see on framework development teams, whether we facilitate the workshops or not. Counseling staff, right? And the entire counseling staff, not just one individual, but all of them. School district administration, right? In terms of curriculum directors, principal, and superintendents, right? These are the people who can maybe tell you what might be realistic at your institutions and what might not be, right? Curriculum directors are very knowledgeable in telling you where things are currently and where there's potential to move some things around. And principals and superintendents usually have a good idea about resources. Then your teachers, right? The people actually teaching the content who are on the ground with the students, implementing that curriculum, right? Middle school, junior high teachers, high school teachers from across different departments is going to be important, right? Math, business, social studies, you name it. A wide variety of teachers involved in the framework development process is critical. So now let's go ahead and we'll dive into the PaCE implementation process here. Just like you developed a framework development team, you're going to want to have an implementation team. It's extremely similar to your framework development team, but there might be a couple of tweaks, right? The reason being is because this requires collaboration across a wide variety of professionals. Not only is this should be happening within the school, but also should be involved externally too, within the district and the community at large. The idea is that students are exposed to PaCE concepts and those readiness indicators, not only in school, but everywhere they go throughout their life, right? In terms of external communities. So you want to work collaboratively with this team to assess, address, and implement that programming that aligns with the framework that you have developed. And you're going to want to include a variety of partners, right? To ensure that the unique needs of that student population are being addressed, to ensure that you've talked about the different possibilities of resources that are able to be considered for your schools, and that these are concepts, again, that they are exposed by various staff members in different capacities, not only within the school, but outside of the school as well. So who do you want to include on this team, right? The effectiveness of your PaCE implementation team really depends on the diversity of members you have on that team, right? These first few bullet points, they're usually a part of your framework development team. Perfect. They usually carry over into the implementation side as well in terms of leading those efforts. Counseling staff, school district administration, as well as a wide variety of teachers. Some additional people you may want to consider that may not be on your framework development team, even though you could if you wanted to, might be community college partners or four-year institutions. Specifically, if you know you have a school where, let's say, half of your student body, goes to the local community college, or goes to the public institution that's only an hour away, right? That may be someone you want to loop in to say, here's what we're doing. A large majority of our students come to you. Do you feel that they are ready in terms of X, Y, and Z? Are there things you want to see us address further, et cetera? You want to build those partnerships. ISAC core members as well. I hear they're quite good at these things in terms of providing free resources and options to help better implement the benchmarks that perhaps you're having trouble doing at your schools via staff or resources limitations. And then local business partners. Similar concept with the institutions in terms of colleges, right? Maybe you know that a great portion of your students end up going to the trades at a local business here. A lot of our students work at this business. They're great with us. They pay a good job. So whatever it might be. Maybe looping them in to say, here's what we're doing, right? How well do you think we're doing it? What's lacking? What's going well? Again, creating those partnerships ensures that these PaCE concepts are happening not only within the school, but are exposed to students outside of the school as well. So we like to break this down in terms of 3 different steps. We're going to talk about taking an inventory, prioritizing the gaps, and having an action plan. So step 1 is to take an inventory, right? You and your implementation team will assess what's currently being done school in your district to meet each of the benchmarks on your framework. Again, this is whether you've adopted state's framework as is, or if you've customized your own. This is sort of where you're going to start to identify the areas of strength and some areas in need of additional support. So questions you want to ask yourself when you're doing this, and this takes more time than you may think. Which benchmarks are currently being met, right? And I'll show you some worksheets in a bit about how we kind of break that down. But how well are those benchmarks being met, and then which benchmarks are not being met? So here are the different worksheets that we would provide to you if we were to facilitate a workshop with you, or it's available on our ISAC.org PaCE website, where you have the freedom to download these PDFs and use them at your disposal for free at any time you see fit. What we have is we break each one of those benchmarks down with a check mark box next to them. And then you're able to rank them on, say, a 1 to 5 scale, right? 5 being that we think 100% of our students are completing these benchmarks. And then a 1 maybe less than 25% of our students are doing so, right? Pretty rare for number 5 to be the case on a lot of these benchmarks, right? You're not going to get 100% of students doing all of the things. It's not maybe realistic, right? So, you may have a lot of 2s and 3s kind of going forth there, and you're going to want to take good, accurate inventories when doing so that you're able to identify and improve upon those areas of weaknesses later. I worked with an institution a couple of years ago who wanted to do this step quite quickly, and they only had the development team in the meeting, and they were trying to take proper inventory of all of the things being done across the school and the district, and they didn't have the proper people there to do the inventory. So a lot of times they were doing zeros because they weren't really aware. And that's why I meant when I'm saying to take your time with this. We always say PaCE is a marathon and not a sprint. And this is just one example. If you want to make sure that you have all the teachers and all the curriculum people and all the administrative staff and everyone involved to accurately take a good inventory about actually what's happening at your institution. So once you take a good inventory, now you prioritize the gaps, right? We see now we have some areas of additional support. We have some weaknesses here. How do we fill those gaps? So you want to document, all right, well, what's currently being done to try and meet this benchmark? And now we can brainstorm some additional ways to improve upon it. So we have resources for that as well. Here's an example of the worksheet you'll find on our PaCE site that allows you to really lay out those prioritizing gaps. So we'll take a benchmark here, for example, creating a resume and personal statement, right? So this is in the career domain. So you'll see a little check mark X box next to career. And then you'll say, all right, cool, team, what's going on now, right? We want this to be better. What are we doing now? Well, we have the English people, the teachers, they give assignments during of the student's junior year to actually create this, right? The named junior English teacher and the AP teacher will lead this assignment. Cool. Maybe you want to brainstorm potential activities to improve upon that, right? What would those be? Or complete a career cluster survey, right? Maybe we don't like what's happening. Okay, we want to have multiple cluster surveys during their freshman English classes, multiple time scheduled for this, and the freshman English teacher does this, right? Actually allocating the time in the school day to have these things to be done may be an effective idea. And then we have the action plan, right? This actually puts in the logistics in place to say, oh, cool, the new things that we brainstormed in step 2 actually happen. So you want to adjust the who's, the where's, the what's, the when's, and the how's involved with the new ideas to implement different things into the benchmarks that you think are struggling, right? It solidifies those logistics and it agrees upon that everything that everyone talked about and agreed upon in step 2 actually gets put in place. So we have examples, right? We have that create a resume and personal statement benchmark, for example, right? Let's solidify how this actually is going to take place. Who's involved and what's the role? We like the English teachers being involved to schedule now 2 lessons instead of 1 maybe, right? When's it going to take place? Let's agree upon dates. Where's it going to take place? English classes are great. It's in there. It's during the school day. The students are going to be there. They're required to. So we have them in front of us. Action items. Make sure students have access to technology, right? Laptops, Illinois WorkNet. Who's going to maybe get those laptops, maybe, kind of schedules for their IT departments, etc. Those are the things to agree upon. Same thing for completing the career cluster survey, right? We have who's involved, when's it going to take place, where, and then the different action items that need to happen in order for that to happen. All right, we'll go ahead now. We'll dive into some of the resource and support options that we have available for you in terms of all things PaCE. Number 1 is our PaCE website. We have lots of materials and resources that are able to support PaCE. including those customized PaCE framework examples I talked with you all about earlier, that repository that we keep. Again, remember, the purpose of that is to kind of not only show off what the schools are doing, but to give other schools who maybe haven't customized PaCE yet or have anything to do with PaCE to look at similar demographic institutions like them to say, hey, what are they doing? Do we like those ideas? Maybe we can adopt some of those ideas. The different descriptions of the PaCE support options, right? Maybe you want to request a private PaCE overview with us in person or virtually. That's on there as well. The PaCE framework development workshop that we facilitate, and the different PaCE implementation steps that we can facilitate with you with those worksheets, explaining how to use those and matching those resources. Those are all there. The implementation worksheets themselves, again, you can download those via PDF on our site at your disposal and use them for free. If you want us to facilitate a step or two with you, we are able to do so as well. And then a wide variety of our upcoming in-person and virtual trainings. A lot of you may have seen this exact session on our website. We put all of those webinar series sessions on there. So here is the support request form found on the PaCE portion of our website here. Whether you're requesting in-person or virtual support options, they are all listed here. And this is exactly where we have schools go to request these different types of events. The PaCE overviews on there, the framework development workshop, as well as those implementation support meetings. So once we receive this request form, we're able to process it on our side, assign staff, and confirm details with that point of contact. I want to talk a little bit now more specifically about the PaCE framework development workshop. So this is a facilitated process of customizing your own framework at your institution. Typically takes about 2 to 3 hours. Depends on the conversation in the room, right? Depends on the size of the framework development team too. We've had some teams that we've worked with where it's been 5 people there, and that's a good representation of the school. Maybe it's a small school. Totally fine. A lot of times those workshops go quicker because there's less people, so consensus is built a little bit quicker. Versus if I'm working with a room with 20 plus people at a very large school district, maybe in the Chicagoland area, a lot more conversation here, more time to take to build consensus. Perhaps that takes 3 hours. So just kind of depends. You want that framework development team created. That's going to be required to schedule the workshop and have us come in. And after the workshop, these are the different outcomes that happen. You will have a copy of your customized PaCE framework. It'll be formatted to kind of look like the PaCE framework. We do that for you. We take your benchmarks that you've agreed upon. We input them into our PDF. It matches that way. Maybe we throw your school logo on there and you have your copy. We also give you examples of our customized PaCE implementation worksheets. So I may take step 1, take an inventory. I'll take the different benchmarks you all agreed upon and the specific grades, and I'll put them in there with those boxes for you so that you're ready to rank them 1 through 5 at your disposal. And continued ISAC support, right? Once you have us, you kind of have us for life, right? We're there for you. Maybe we check in 6 months and say, hey, what's going on? How's implementation going? Were there any edits to your framework that maybe we can update on our end? Do you need any help in terms of implementation, whether it be step 1, 2, 3, any sort of explanations on how to use the worksheets, matching you to free resources, etc. So these are those 1-hour meetings with us, and it corresponds to each of the steps. And it just kind of helps you and your team understand and better complete each of the worksheets I went through with you: the inventory, the gaps, and the action plans. Once we complete these meetings with you, you will be much better equipped to implement your framework and better know how to use not only the worksheets, but maybe identify some additional free resources to help meet benchmarks that you may say we don't have the money for, we don't have the resources, or we don't have the staff. Pretty new within the last year or so, we have brand new Illinois PaCE module trainings as well, where it's a half-day training and we take 2 modules per half day to really dive into a lot of detail with PaCE, discussing how to get started, those best practices for implementation, and your next steps to successfully adopt and implement a framework. Essentially, it's what I've covered with you here today, very high level overview general, but it goes really in depth to each of those details. Module 1 and 2 is for 1 half day. We talked about starting with a good plan and how it takes a community to really make this effective. And then the second half day is modules 3 and 4, where we talk about really centering your students and tracking your progress. We get into data, how to maybe analyze data a little bit better, and to share and network different ideas about how to collect data. I want to show you a little bit in Gap Access here for those of you high school that are familiar with Gap Access. This is sort of the online portal for which we administer our programs. And within the last year or two, we implemented a new question on here that was able to allow you schools to identify what you're doing with PaCE. The question asked if your school's currently implementing or using any sort of college and career readiness plan. The options there would be Illinois PaCE itself, a customized framework, or another college and career readiness plan. So we're able to indicate that then on PaCE, and that better helps us determine exactly what's happening at your schools. We have a resource about for students to use as well for PaCE, right? Just like you all have those worksheets and the different benchmarks listed for you at the school, this can be very similarly sort of organized for students. It's written in more friendly language for them as well. So those long kind of domains that I told you about are shortened to one word, for example: career, money, college. Easy. And then the benchmarks that are at the school are listed there. So students can have some moments of accountability here to say, okay, cool, I'm through 10th grade now. What's on the framework? Did I do these things? Am I prepared? Do I know these concepts? And they can check themselves off and keep themselves accountable. We also have a career pathways dictionary on here. This was first published in 2018, and it was developed by the several state education and workforce committees, many of the 4 that I mentioned with you all today. This provides details upon agreed definitions to foster the alignment across the state education agencies, the frameworks, and the specific initiatives regarding PaCE. So lots of details here. Feel free to read that at your disposal. We also have our full PaCE implementation guide on our website that provides extensive guidance on adopting and implementing a framework. We talk a lot about what we would maybe in the modules in terms of building understanding with different stakeholders inside your institutions and out, how to develop a good plan to implement PaCE, executing that plan, and best practices for how to build your team of stakeholders. Also want to turn your attention to the PWR Act newsletter. If you are interested in following their newsletter, and if there's any sort of updates with the legislation, you would be the first to know by signing up for the newsletter here. And it obviously covers topics regarding PaCE, the competency-based learning systems, transitional learning, and the college and career pathway endorsements. Just want to share that with you if you're interested. I want to also show a pretty new resource from us on the PD side here of our new ISAC Connection text service, right? Where we are your direct line if you have questions. Obviously, you usually have our training inbox emails. You can email us, but if text is a better way for you to communicate with us to get your questions answered, we now have a line open to you all to do so. You also are going to receive other important updates from us about different sort of federal programs, ISAC programs and services. We will remind you of those things. All you have to do is text your name to that 847-250-2384 number. We get you in our system then, and then when we have those important updates, we text them to you. And anytime then you have questions for us on the PD side, we're there to answer it for you quickly. I'd also want to kind of highlight and announce our upcoming College Access Symposium. We are going to have 4 this year, sort of a new name, a new look to our symposiums, combining our FAFSA and PaCE topics here to make it all inclusive about what college access is all about, right? Our first one's going to be Thursday, October 17th at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. We'll then have one at Lincoln Lane Community College on the 29th. Then we're coming back up north to Moraine Valley on November 6th, and then coming back then to Sauk Valley Community College on November 8th. I feel like we're going on tour as a band, hitting all the different parts of the state. We're rocking and rolling here. So really exciting for us. College Access Symposium, kind of marrying the 2 topics together here. Should be a great event. We really hope you're able to join us. It's on our website, PD/College Access Symposium. Full details there with our Eventbrites when those open up, and you'll be set to go. You can learn different topics about different high schools, how they organize those students to support becoming more post-secondary and career ready, as well as financial aid topics. Our FAFSA Communication Toolkit is still out and available. This is a good resource to help our practitioners in terms of how to communicate with our students and families to best meet the financial aid applications and filled out. With the 24-25 FAFSA, we obviously ran into quite a variety of issues with that. And with the 25-26 application opening in December, we may still continue to see these issues. So how to best advertise and support your students and families in your field is critical, and we have templates in terms of supporting how to do so. Whether they're email blasts, robocalls, different flyers and social media posts, all good examples on this toolkit. I also want to highlight our First Generation Scholars Network. This has been expanding for us on the team. This is a great way for our first gen students to connect with mentors as they go through their educational careers. We're also able to help kind of partner them and connect them, I should say, to first gen programs on other campuses. A lot of times when I talk about the First Gen Scholars Network, I talk about my experiences as an undergrad. When I went to North Central College, we had one of the best first gen programs, quite frankly, in the country called Cardinal First, where I had emotional, academic, as well as financial resources from being a part of that program. So we try to connect our first gen students across the state to institutions like that who may have good support options for them. Institutions are also expanding their support for first gen students. So we're really happy to have this network, and it's been expanding over the last couple of years. So it's free. You join now. If they have questions, we do have an email inbox for them to answer questions as well. Okay, for the moment you've all been waiting for is our evaluation to provide feedback for today's session and to receive any sort of C and PD hours. My colleague has just posted the link to the evaluation in the chat bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Looks like a little iMessage bubble. If it hasn't popped up for you already, just click on that and it will pop up for you. The evaluation must be submitted by Tuesday, September 17th at 4:30 p.m. That's sort of close of business for us here at ISAC. If you are specifically requesting PD hours, please make sure that you submit your Illinois Educator Identification Number. If you're requesting PD hours and we don't see that EIN number, we are not allowed to award you PD hours. So ensure that that's on there. Give us about a week or two to get you those completed forms. We have to process all of these forms manually. We don't have sort of an automated system. So one of us has to go in and kind of manually complete these for all of you. So sometimes it takes us a little bit of time, but we definitely will follow up with you with those completed forms. Again, bottom right-hand corner of your screen for the chat to access the evaluation. That will close Tuesday, September 17th, 4:30 p.m. And with that, that is all I have for you. Thank you for joining us this morning. I hope this information was helpful for you. We have a wide variety of things happening at ISAC. We are excited about our upcoming symposium. So when you have questions, please reach out to us at the ISAC.PACE outreach inbox, and we will hopefully talk to you all soon. Thank you so much. Take care.